Hello everyone. So I am back sooner than expected with another card. I tend to go in spurts when it comes to crafting. I won't post anything for the longest time, and then all of a sudden just creative inspiration strikes and I'll post back to back to back. So I am using Simon Says Stamp, their 120-pound base weight cardstock. And I'm using Stamping Bella's Uptown Girl Fiona Loves Flowers image. And I'm inking it up with Hero Arts black dye ink and then stamping it directly onto my card base. And if you've never used this cardstock before, this is only, I think, my second time actually using it. One, it's really heavyweight, and two, it is really, really smooth. Like, I would consider this to be like an ultra smooth cardstock. So I am completely experimenting here. I have never done this before, and normally a person would, try it out, test it out a few times, experiment, see what works. But I just turned the camera on and thought I'd give it a shot and see what happens. I wanted to use my Inktense pencils, which are watercolor pencils, on this cardstock and not necessarily watercolor them, but I wanted to use my Dove blender pen just to see what would happen. So, and I've mentioned in previous videos when it comes to like watercoloring and things like that, my biggest struggle is doing people images, like humans, mostly because like trying to get the skin tone in that is so difficult and I struggle. So not only am I experimenting here, I'm also doing a person, and my one peeve with Inktense pencils is they don't have, in my opinion, any really good skin tone colors. Like, there's some nice browns to do darker skin tones, but there's not really any sort of, peachy, beigey sort of colors for blending and that kind of thing. So I don't mind doing the darker skin tones, obviously. I just want them to look nice. And I don't know, I wasn't 100% happy with this, mostly because I learned from the very beginning here that the Dove blender pen works fabulously. And on this cardstock, like, the color just glides really well, but you cannot do very much blending and you cannot go back over areas very much. I did that on the skin. I tried to add, a little bit of deeper shading and it started to pill on the cardstock. So you definitely can't do a whole lot of layering. I started to figure out you could do a bit as long as you didn't overwork it with your blender pen. And my Dove blender is brand new, so it's really, really juicy, which also helps to spread the color without really, pressing deep onto the cardstock, because then, yeah, it'll pill. And also, I don't show it on the video because I have my scrap paper like literally on my lap. But I was scribbling off any little bit of color off of the Dove blender pen, but as I was switching between colors of the Inktense pencils. No matter what, the tip, I was expecting it to get completely stained because these are basically permanent. Which is another thing. I don't know if it's just this cardstock or if it's using the blender pen instead of just water because it's like a glycerin type of solution, or if it's a combination of both. But even though the Inktense pencils are technically permanent, that's the word I'm trying to think of, when after you've like watercolored them, they become permanent, and that's what I was hoping for with this, because then, yeah, you can add like layers and all this kind of stuff. But I was finding with this that it's not as permanent as I thought it was going to be. So like I said, I don't know if it's a combination of, the super smooth cardstock, the blender pen. I don't know. Like I said, this is my very first kind of go at this, but it was fun. It was something different anyway. I was originally going to just stamp this and color it with Copics, but I thought, why not experiment? So, and again, I've also like super sped up the coloring. I didn't spend that much time doing that. Maybe half an hour start to finish to make this card. I had my kids running around and Caitlin dancing around and trying to pull everything off my desk, and we were just having a merry old time in here while I was, filming and coloring. So I edited out all those parts where, Caitlin's trying to feed me orange slices and different things. So it was just fun for me and fun for them to just have complete and total chaos. So I just colored away for some of the smaller areas, and for the little bit of layering I did with the larger flowers, I was just picking the color up directly from the pencil and applying it to the cardstock with the blender pen. And that worked pretty well too. Next time I try this, I might try different, like maybe just actual watercolor paper. I don't know. It's something different anyway, using the Dove blender and then, yeah, super smooth cardstock like this. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it other than I was happy with it. I was a little disappointed that it's not as permanent. You'll see when I add the little bit along the bottom. That's when it started picking up some of the color and smearing a little bit. So yeah, it is kind of what it is. It was right here that it started picking up some of the purple and kind of smeared it a tiny bit. So I don't know if maybe it just needed a little bit more time to dry or what. And I was too scared to actually test it and, you know, just rub that blender pen right across the image after I spent all this time coloring it. So I just left it, and then I'll try it again. Hopefully I'll get some time in the near future. But once I was happy with everything and it was colored in, I went in with my little Posca white paint pen and just added some little highlights and some dots just to kind of give it a bit more depth, I guess. So once I did that, I let that dry, which didn't take very long at all. Yeah, I just kind of fiddled, added little highlights, added little dots, whatever, and then went on to finish the inside, which is just a sentiment. This comes with this stamp, and I absolutely love this sentiment. So I used my little clear stamp positioner to line it up on the inside of the card and decided to use just the sentiment as is. I wasn't going to stamp anything or color anything, or, you know, I usually add some sort of embellishment or something, but I decided to just leave it with just the sentiment. Super simple card, you know, in terms of, you know, me not adding pattern papers or ribbons or embellishments or anything, but I just wanted it to be really clean and simple and just let the main image kind of take center stage here. So once I had the inside stamped, I couldn't stop myself. I had to add just a little bit of shimmer. So I got out my little Pico shimmer embellisher by Imagine Crafts. I've shown this in a few videos now, and I'm utterly obsessed with it. So shook it up really well to distribute the shimmer, and I've said before, but if you've not seen those videos, it's basically like glossy accents with shimmer. It's not quite as raised, it's a little bit flatter, and it dries a lot faster, so I love it. So I added some dabs to the centers of the flowers and some little highlights here and there with the shimmer. And in real life, it's just super simple and pretty, and I just love it. So as always, if you're interested in any of the supplies used, all the info will be in the description box below the video. So make sure to check that out for links to my blog and the supplies and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping my videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye.